Okay. Yep, I think the part 4 live is going on right now. Yep, but I think it's okay now. It's going on fine. So today we will complete our journey of lecture 9 of Penology, asking one final question. What is the question? The question is, what's now we are coming from punishment to correction. Historically, prisons were designed mainly to isolate offenders from the society. The emphasis was on the discipline, on strict control, and definitely on suffering, which was very bad, but historically, suffering or punishment was actually given more importance than anything. But experience showed that merely locking people inside prison it often failed to reduce crime. Many prisoners actually left prison with greater anger, with resentment, and with fewer opportunities, and also with stronger criminal associations. So as a result, modern criminal justice gradually shifted from a purely punitive approach to a correctional facility. So the objective today is not only to punish, okay? It's not just to punish, but also to reduce the future offending by addressing causes of criminal behavior. So if we are terming it as correctional administration, we got to ask, what is correctional administration? Correctional administration actually it refers to the management of prisons and other correctional institutions in a manner that protects society while promoting lawful rehabilitation. So correctional administration it promotes lawful rehabilitation. Its primary objective can be like safe custody of offenders. It can be protection of prisoners' right. Can be maintenance of discipline, like in the classical prison system or traditional prison system, definitely. About healthcare, checking the healthcare or checking the health of inmates. About psychological counseling, which is a new thing than with traditional prison system. About education, about vocational training, also preparing for reintegration into the society. So these are the objective of correctional institutions. A successful correctional institution should produce fewer repeated offenders than simply housing the prisoners or simply punishing the prisoners. So a successful correctional institute should reduce recidivism. Okay. Yesterday I asked the question, what is recidivism on lecture on part 3 of lecture 9. Hope you have answered that yourself. Anyway, coming to the word rehabilitation, or we can simply term it as rehab. So what is rehabilitation? It actually means helping offenders develop the knowledge, the skills and attitudes, also behavior necessary to return to the mainstream society as responsible citizens, as very normal citizens, not like criminal or not like offender as before. It is based on very important belief that people can sense. Rehabilitation is on the simple belief that people can sense. Definitely not every offender will reform, but many and sometimes we can say the number is the most can reform. So rehabilitation or rehab programs, they can be like literacy and education programs. They can be vocational training, can be skill development, also definitely modern day computer educations, also drug de-addiction, psychological counseling, which is often integrated in prison system at present times, anger management with various programs like United States. The Vipassana yoga is widely practiced in Western countries, including United States prisons. So it helps in anger management. In India also various yogic practice are done. I don't know whether Vipassana yoga is done or not, but in United States and other Western countries, Vipassana yoga is widely practiced there for anger management and similar practices. There can be family counseling, also about spiritual and moral education, and sports and cultural activities also, which these are the rehab programs which may sense a people, okay, with the principle of people can sense. So a prisoner who learns a profession while being in the prison, and who overcomes addiction and builds family relationship, is often less likely to commit other offense when he is being released after his sentence. So while coming into the release, we must focus on the reintegration in society. So one of the greatest challenges begins after the prisoner is released. In penology, it's not that when the punishment is served, the scope of penology is finished. No, it's not so. Reintegration into the society is an important part of penology. That is when the prisoner is released, how he or she reintegrates into the society. This is also a matter of penology. So former prisoners, like they frequently faced in the prisoners who have been in traditional prison systems, they actually faced social stigma. They faced difficulty in finding employment, also rejection by society, and thus financial hardship and psychological stress. They had gone through various disorders, and most importantly, one of them were social anxiety disorders, which are very common while prisoners are out, and it hampers the prisoners to reintegrate into the society. So without support, these challenges that I have just mentioned, these challenges may increase the risk of reoffending if we don't give them enough psychological support and family support, or even institutional support. The offenders who just got released after the sentence, there are more chances of recidivism or getting into new offenses. Okay, therefore modern correctional systems or modern correctional facilities, they encourage employment assistance. They encourage about community supervision wherever it is applicable, definitely, with family support, and goes with counseling and continued education. Continued education or distance education has become a very much part of prison system, as far as I know, at least in India, and also other social reintegration program. So justice is not complete when prison gets opened. Okay, when someone finishes serving his sentence, it is not that when justice is complete. Justice, it succeeds when a former offender becomes a productive member of the society. He is when reintegrated to the society after his sentencing period, then justice succeeds. So this is the principle of reintegration, or principle of reintegration into society. Now coming to the important concept of recidivism. So what is recidivism? Recidivism, we have actually discussed about it briefly in part 3 of lecture 9. So it is a very important concept in penology. It means returning to the criminal behavior after releasing from the correctional facility. So as I have earlier discussed, it is just reoffending after being released. Okay, so reducing recidivism is one of the principal goals of modern correctional administration. Research often shows that recidivism may be influenced by various factors. They can be like lack of employment, maybe due to addiction, due to association of gangs. About association, we have already learned about differential association theory of Edwin Sutherland. Hope you can remember. If you can't remember about differential association theory, I suggest you to revisit our concept lecture on differential association theory, which is on our YouTube channel. So as we talked about gang association, there can be other recidivism factors like poor family support, maybe due to social exclusion. There can be some mental health issues, and also inadequate rehab programs. So this is why prisons must prepare offenders for lawful life, beyond the incarceration period. So beyond that, the sentencing period, the prison should prepare the inmates for a better life when they are going to be released. Okay. So coming to now, after recidivism, we are moving ahead some very important topics like rights of prisoners. Even though prisoners have rights, though some of their rights are forfeited like voting rights and others, but still they regain some of the fundamental human rights. So rights of prisoner are one of the greatest achievements of modern penology. Is that they here in modern penology, prisoners are regarded as a human being, not like earlier traditional jails or traditional facilities. They were just tortured and much more that had happened with them. But in modern penology, in modern correctional facilities, they are treated as human beings with basic human rights. So conviction definitely restricts liberty, but it doesn't remove human dignity. It doesn't remove the human factor from that person. Okay, it retains the dignity of the human being. So prisoners actually entitled to human treatment, which can be like what can be the human treatment can be like safe accommodation, maybe adequate good food, definitely medical care. They can be sanitation or access to legal assistance, about communication with family members subject to lawful regulations, of course. About protection from torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatments. There can be opportunities for education and other rehab opportunities. So in a democratic society, it is a democratic society actually is judged not only by how the society treats law-abiding citizens, but it is also judged by how it treats the people who are in custody. This is very important. A healthy democracy is not only tested by the freedom of people, but also the state of the people who are behind the bars. So this is a very important statement. Now looking from Indian point of view, India has undertaken significant efforts to reform modern prison administration. Like important areas of reform, they included like reducing overcrowding, improvement of prison infrastructure, their implementation of better healthcare facilities, integration of mental health services, legal aid with district legal services authority, etc., vocational training, digital prison management system, educational opportunities. We have already discussed that availability of distance educations program of various open universities across various jails and sub jails, about various skill development programs, and initiative of open prisons. Open prison is a very much important, where inmates are not so tightly confined in room, but rather very relaxed, even though they are in prison. And also about improved aftercare services. The Model Prison Manual of India in 2016, it has provided guidance to various states in India on improving prison administration by emphasizing correction, rehab, also with security, professional management, and definitely about prisons welfare. So, coming to Indian prison reforms, Supreme Court has come up with various landmark judgments with prison reforms. Like some of the decisions can be like Sunil Batra case, where Supreme Court emphasized that prisons do not lose their prisoners actually do not lose their fundamental rights merely because they are incarcerated, and that prison administration remains subject to constitutional scrutiny. Another case was like Hussainara Khatun case, where this landmark decision by Supreme Court, it highlighted that problem of prolonged detention of under trial prisoners, and reinforced it reinforced the importance of speedy justice. Okay, so in Hussainara Khatun case, the court has gone for advocating about speedy justice. Okay, so these decisions actually helped shape modern, human, and right-oriented correctional system in India. Coming to system of international, what are the international systems? So there are various international principles relating to modern penology or modern correctional institutions. One of the most important, which is very important in penology also in exam point of view, is the Nelson Mandela rules. It was also known as United Nations Standard Minimum Rule for Treatment of Prisoners. It is Nelson Mandela rules. These rule or Nelson Mandela rule actually emphasizes on human dignity, on health care, classification of prisoners, safe accommodation, hygiene, contact with families, education, about vocational training, fair disciplinary procedure, also participation for release. So Nelson Mandela rules are very important rules for exam perspective. I think the rule was adopted in 2015. Yeah, kind of like that. There was actually two rules I studied. One is Nelson Mandela rule, another is Tokyo rule, or some other kind of rules. One was 1985, another was 2015. I think Nelson Mandela rule was in 2015. I suggest our learners to recheck when Nelson Mandela rule came into effect. I will ask this question at the end. So although many countries have different legal systems, these standards like Nelson Mandela standards or United Nations minimum standard or minimum rule for the treatment of prisoners, these standards actually encourage human prison administration across the world. So this is all about penology. What are the as we learn about most of penology, what do you think about the modern challenges before penology? What are the challenges before the at present contemporary penology? They can be simply prison overcrowding, can be under trial population, high number of under trial population, maybe due to staff shortage, There is definitely problems of mental illness, because it is not so easy to be confined in a prison. People actually suffer, people actually break down there. This is a complete different world. So mental illness and psychological issues are very much common in prison. Drug abuse. And there is one more problem in modern times, maybe at least from last 25 to 30 years, that is radicalization inside the prison. This is very important, that radicalization inside prison is not to happen. It is important duty of prison administration to look after this situation, that radicalization doesn't happen inside prison. There can be gang activities. There can be, we see that various gangs even active in India, which are allegedly operating from inside the jail, from inside the prison itself. It is often said that some of the gangs in India who are operating from Indian jail but actually operating outside India, these are actually also called pseudo gangs. You can search what is pseudo gang in the context of Penology or in the context of Criminology. You can search what is a pseudo gang. I will not answer that. You please answer that after you finishing this lecture on the comment box. What is a pseudo gang? So other significant challenge can be like violence inside the prison. Prison violence are very common, because not so good people go into the prison. Also limited rehab resources and facilities. There can be social stigma after release, as we already discussed. There are budget constraints, especially in developing countries like India, etc. So to address these issues, it requires cooperation among government agencies, among courts, with correctional professionals, with police, psychologists, social workers, and definitely with civil society organizations. So with all this we have learned, what do you think about the future of penology? How future of how penology would evolve after 10 or 20 years? The future of penology actually lies on the balance of justice, security, technology, and humanity. Emerging development in the penology, it can be like digital prison management, electronic monitoring systems, artificial intelligence incorporation in prison administration, with restorative justice initiative, about skill-based rehab practices, also stronger victim offender accountability. These are the programs. So the actual objective of reform of penology or reform of penal system is not simply to build more prisons, but to make the existing prisons better one and a reformative one. So that is all penology. What we have, if we go through a simple revision of what we have learned in all the 3 lectures, we can find that the definition of penology, which is the scientific study of punishment, of prison, of sentencing and correction. So punishment has evolved from revenge to rehabilitation. From ancient time, it was very retributive, from actually revenge, then to retribution, then to rehabilitation, to lastly reformative. What are the major theories of punishment? As we discussed, the major theory of punishment are RDP, RER. Hope you remember RDP, RER. That is retributive, deterrent, preventive, reformative, expiatory, and restorative. What are the major form of punishment? Which can be like, we have learned 6 or 7 types of punishments, like death penalty, imprisonment, including rigorous and simple imprisonment, life imprisonment, or imprisonment for short time and long time also, about fine, about probation, parole, about community-based sanctions. Also, there is another one that is forfeiture of property. Modern correctional administration, as we have learned in this lecture, it focuses on security, on discipline, education, on counseling, rehabilitation, also on reintegration. So prisoners remain their human dignity and fundamental legal protections even though they are in prison. Hence, with all that we have studied in these 3 lectures, you can find that the ultimate goal of penology is not to revenge. It is definitely not to revenge. It is justice that protects society while reducing future crime. Ultimate goal of penology is therefore to serve this justice with perspective or with prospects that future crime will be reduced and there will be reduction in future crimes. So it is not about revenge. So as we conclude this master class with 4 parts in lecture 9 of penology, so remember there is one important question. Remember there are various important lessons. One of them are like a prison sentence is not the final destination of criminal justice. Criminal justice is not about prison sentence. The true success of a criminal justice system is actually measured not by the number of people it imprisons, but by the number of life it helps to transform. A society actually becomes safer not only by punishing offenders, but also by preventing future crimes through rehab practices, through education, through fairness and respect of human dignity. So this is the essence of modern penology. So that's it. In our next lecture, we will move into another exciting idea of criminology and continue building a deeper understanding of crime, justice, and society. Thank you for joining me throughout this penology masterclass. And if you find this series useful, please like, share, and subscribe to Gyanonymous School. Thank you and Jai Hind.